You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 87. Hey everyone, it's Friday again, so guess what that means?
It's FriChat Day.
We should turn that into a song. What do you think?
I kind of like that.
Yeah. So I'm Marly of the blog Namely Marly, and
I'm Cara of Fork and Beans.
this is FriChats. And what do we do on FriChats, Cara?
We chat about Friday. No, we talk about all things food blogging.
Yeah.
In a condensed version, and basically we talk about the troubles and the struggles and the joys that we have as bloggers, just to let you know that, hey, you are not alone.
Yeah.
We are in this together, and we're here to talk about all of it.
You know, one thing I love about the feedback we've been getting so far is that how surprised everybody is that you know, they're listening to people who are going through the same things that they're going through.
It's like what Michael Jackson said, you are not alone.
Yeah. Sing. I need a flashlight or no. I need a, you know what I'm talking about, right?
You're
like
not alone. Like, oh yeah,
yes.
I do. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Thanks.
We're in this together. And
right.
So I think it's important that people are talking about it, because it's a shock. Like, wait a minute, you have X amount of followers and you have a blog I love, but you struggle with that? No, yes. I'm always feeling that way when I meet somebody that I, really appreciate their work from. So it's just nice to talk about it.
I agree. And nice to realize that, the struggles that I have. I mean, I think it's easy to be like isolated behind our computers and not realize that everybody else is going through the same thing.
Yeah, you're not by yourself in this.
Speaking of not being by ourselves, let's introduce today's topic, which you want to go into it?
This is a topic that's so dear to my heart, probably because it strikes a chord from like my 8th grade year. So I'm in therapy working on it, everybody. But no, I really am. But the topic we wanted to talk about with all of you today is the idea of blogging being this popularity game, and how easy it is to get sucked into this idea that the more followers you have means the more popular and loved you are, as if that's going to make us happier people, and that we're competing against so many people for attention. I think that it can be very damaging, because I think most of us, I don't know about you, Marly, but most of us have some kind of experience with the idea of popularity growing up. And it's typically not necessarily the most positive thing, but feeling left out.
Oh, no, I was supremely popular in school.
Were you? Were you
no.
in the Oh, what? I totally would have believed it.
I did go to a private high school for a couple of years, and it was super small. And so I felt confident in myself and under those very select settings. But other than that, oh, no, I was never.
Well,
I'm joking.
But isn't it interesting, like junior high times, especially, I feel like that's when it really starts.
Oh, yeah.
Where that's what you want. You want to be in the popular clique, and you're desperately trying to do what you can to be at the top. The problem with that, though, is once you get at the top, then what?
Yes.
Right? And for me, I think like once you're at the top, you're struggling now to stay at the top. And that's where it gets a little tricky in blogging, don't you think?
I definitely think so. So like, what are the negative? I'm just going along with your, stream of consciousness here and thinking like, what are the negative things that happen as a result of looking at blogging as a popularity contest?
Lots of things. Let's start with stepping on people to get where you want to go, like using people. There's no doubt that there are those who use other bloggers basically just because of their status.
Yes.
There's the comparison trap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when it becomes a popularity contest, you're constantly comparing yourself to X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and you're putting yourself down because of it, that you're not good enough. That's a sad and scary place to be, when you don't believe that you as a person and a blogger is good enough, just because maybe you weren't invited to some, I don't know, some trip that other bloggers were. Or
Yes.
there's you'll see on Instagram people are gathering together and you're like, wait, how come I wasn't invited?
Yeah.
You know? And that has that way of making you think, like, is there something wrong with me? Do people not like me? Am I not talented enough? And it gets you down on who you are, when that should never be the point, you know?
And I think it's important to clarify that it's okay to be disappointed that you weren't selected to be on some trip or whatever. That's a very human feeling, but then to internalize that and say it's something I did wrong, I think is that's where it gets dangerous.
Yes. Yeah, it can. I think it crosses into maybe previous hurts that you've had
Yes.
as a kid with this popularity thing.
Yep.
Um, or even like getting nominated for
Oh, yes.
the best food blog of
Yes.
2016. Just because I didn't get nominated for that doesn't mean that I'm not a damn good food blogger.
Right.
But sometimes it feels like this sense of validation that these things, whether magazines recognize me or big websites recognize me or big bloggers recognize me, that validates that my work is good enough, when that validation needs to come from us and us only. I don't need outside validation anymore. And that's where the hard work comes in. But I think it's easy to get stuck in that popularity contest.
I think that's really cool. I was actually reading this post by this woman. She was a size 12 swimsuit model, and she was on some live show where they were doing different sizes of swimsuits or whatever. And anyway, people shamed her, and mostly men, of course. And she actually came back with this answer, which I loved. It was something like this: like, I am the one that gets to decide what I'm happy with about my body, and that's the criteria. And I'm fit, I'm healthy, and I feel good about myself. So I think that's what I'm thinking, maybe you're saying about blogging too, is like, we get to define, maybe we're a size 12 blog and not not a size
Yes,
2, and that's okay.
exactly. Exactly. Because somebody else who you're comparing yourself to is doing their thing. They're doing their story that is in their heart. I don't need to do that in order to feel like I'm a part of the crowd, or, that I am good enough.
Yes.
Um, does that make sense?
It does. And another thing I really like about that is, I mean, if you really think about it, it's a little bit of controlling behavior. Like, other people are trying to shame other people into being like them. And it kind of reminds me of that. I don't know if you ever watched that movie, Mean Girls.
That's like one of my favorites. Yeah.
My daughter can quote from it. I don't think I
Oh,
can.
yeah, me
I
too.
can't do that. But it's like, we only wear pink on Wednesday mornings, and
Yeah.
and then if you start following those rules, then your blog is just like everybody else's at some point. And how boring is that?
And it's not authentic for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I've
Right.
talked about this before, but you know how marble is a very popular medium to have as
Yes.
a background?
Yes.
Um, because of that, there are times, I'm being honest here, that I think I need to buy a marble background because everyone else has it.
Yeah.
So I need to do that. And then I stop and think, why the hell would I buy a marble background for an orange that I just slapped some googly eyes on? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit who I
But it
am.
looks so cool, right? Yeah. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, I got to have that. Everybody
Well,
else is doing it.
if my food photography were like what people's are who do, the marble backgrounds, it would look cool. It just doesn't fit with the theme of who I am. But I have to fight that all
Yes.
of the time because, or even the seasonal stuff. Like right now, what's a popular fruit that everyone's working with?
Watermelon.
Watermelon, yeah. So now I have to create a watermelon slushie or something like
Yes.
that. And it's like I don't have to do that just because I see other people doing it and I admire what they're doing. I mean, there's
Right.
great work out there,
Yeah.
but it's a constant battle for me to have to stop and go, whoa, 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 hold on. Why do I want to do that now?
Right.
Because so and so's doing that. And so, wait a minute, does this even fit into my mission? It doesn't. Okay, then I can't do that. I can't do that. And that's hard. It's really hard for me.
Yes. I feel that too. I do.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I feel like, I don't know, there's just part of me that sometimes I don't know if it's competitive is the word that comes to mind or if it's just like, I feel like I can do that. I could do that. I could do that. I could do a recipe with watermelon in it. I could totally do that. But just because I can doesn't mean that I should.
Yes. Yeah, and that's where it comes down to like taking a step aside and doing an inventory in your own internal world and
Yes.
figuring out like what's important to me, and what's important to me is totally different what's important to you. And that's okay. And that can be celebrated. So instead of me thinking that I'm less of a person because I don't, truth be told, Marley, like the thought of going on like a big girls trip with bloggers,
I know.
it kind of gives me a little anxiety.
Yeah.
Just because like I'm more of not a private, but what's the word? Introvert too.
Yes.
So I see that and I think I'm not necessarily going to oh my gosh, I just had total pregnancy brain fart. Where was I going? Oh my gosh. But just because I'm invited to do this thing doesn't mean it's going to make me happy. It doesn't necessarily fit who I am.
Right.
So, but it's just that validation component that,
Yeah, I
that
think
I just, yeah.
that's really good. In fact, I actually have felt that when I've gone to food blogging conferences in the past where
That's a great example.
I
Yes.
walk in and it feels like I have walked into the schools of high school. I mean, the halls of high school, like people look at you like if you're not wearing the right outfits or if you're not, if you don't, not in the popular kids club, then it's like you're an outcast and it just feels terrible. I hated a couple of the food blogging conferences I went to. I hated them.
This is great to hear because you don't necessarily hear about that
Oh,
openly, and yeah, it does. It kind of like tunes into some of those insecurities.
yes.
We're all just human beings who want to be loved and accepted.
Yes.
And I think our message is that love and acceptance comes from you first. Of like Stuart Smiley, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people love you.
We should make that our tagline.
I think so. I think so. And that's okay that you can find that peace in you. So then you can look at someone else's success and go, good for you. Doesn't mean that I need that or I want that.
Yes.
I want to go to that conference or that trip or whatever. But good for you that you're doing that. I'm honoring me and my personality and
That's
what my
right.
mission is.
And so, two things that come for me out of that is one, I'm much more selective about the conferences I go to. First of all, they're expensive. And so I don't want to waste my money on a trip and leave in tears. That just doesn't work for me.
Or
And
that's why you start your own conference.
yeah, that's exactly, I was going to say, yeah,
Oh,
that's start my own conference because
Sorry.
I really do feel like attitude of inclusivity starts at the top. In other words, it has to be a theme, a very strong goal of that conference. Otherwise, it is going to turn into that kind of event. And, I'm just not into that. I'm not wasting my money on it, and I want to spend my time around it.
Yes. Well, see, and I think that you know what it is that you want,
Yeah.
and what makes you happy. And so when we, like I was saying before, take that inventory of our internal selves, of realizing like what's most important to me. For me personally, being peaceful is very important to me. And so what gets in the way of peaceful living? Well, traveling a lot, or,
Right.
having too many people rely. I'm somebody who has a small group of friends. I can't have a large group of
Oh,
friends
yeah.
because that's a lot for me emotionally. So I have to be willing to say no to a lot of things that will block what's most important to me. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
But with that, that means I'm going to maybe feel like I'm a little left out, quote unquote.
Yes.
But that's going to have to be okay because I'm I'm a homebody. I like to stay at home. I like to be within a 5 mile radius like my father. and and that is very important to me. And so that means I have to say no to a lot of things. I have to say no to certain social engagements that maybe are farther away from me because that can disrupt what's most important to me. So I think that's really important in blogging too. Like, I'm going to say no to that conference. And I know I'm going to see photos on Instagram of everyone having a great time. And there's going to be part of me that's like, oh, I feel a little left out. But then I have to also acknowledge, but this is what's important to me, though.
Right. But just don't say no to Chopped.
Oh, no, this is totally different. We're not going to Chopped. You're all going to Chopped.
And you are too, right?
Oh, you kidding me? Of course.
But I think that's true. Also, the other thing that I was going to say that's really been helpful for me is to really start to learn to embrace my own sense of style. I feel like in the past, kind of like I was saying about that size 12 swimsuit model, like I'm not the skinniest person in the world. I mean, I feel like I'm okay with my size, but I've always felt like I wanted to lose weight because I kind of had this like diet mentality, and
Sure.
and I'm starting to like just learn to embrace myself for who I am, and that means also learning to have my own sense of style. And so at some point, it's like I don't care if I don't fit in with a certain sense of style when I'm really, really comfortable with who I am.
That's a great point because it's just being you. It's all, look at this. We're coming back to being your authentic self.
Yes.
And if somebody doesn't accept it, then that's okay because you already love yourself anyway. So it's like,
Yes.
eh.
It's like we need to have our own blogging contest awards, and it should be like, I don't know what, like how they have this one is voted most beautiful, or this one's, most likely to succeed. And then there's always that one category as this person is voted most, like, obstinate is the word that comes to mind. What am I thinking of? Radical?
Yeah.
We need to have a radical category for bloggers.
Well, that reminds me, I was nominated person to be most likely to be arrested. Yeah.
Oh my God. There's another side to you, Cara.
This was like within my choir friends, and I was a little unruly back then. So,
wow. So
I think that's
amongst
a great
choir
category.
people, you're out there a little bit,
Oh
huh?
yeah, yeah. When it comes to Glee, yeah, woo, crazy. No, just kidding.
I love it. So create your own category and then excel in that category, right?
Yes, and just stop comparing yourself. I know it's easy, and we all are accustomed to it, but start appreciating who you are and your voice, and this isn't a competition.
Right.
It's hard to get out of that mindset, but this isn't a competition. And
Yeah.
if try this if you are starting to feel really jealous that you're not in a certain spot. Here are two things that I've tried that have helped me. I send them into the light and go, God bless, like, good for you and your success. That's awesome. Or I'll say, that's okay. they need to enjoy this right now, but my turn is going to be, next year or whatever.
Yes.
Like, instead of putting myself down saying, well, I guess I'll never be that way and nobody likes me, because that's not the truth. That's not the
Right.
truth
Change
at
that
all.
story.
Change your story. Yes, absolutely. And see how different you feel about it, because it really will switch in your head.
Oh my God, Kara, I love that because I do really, I mean, I believe in the importance of our words and the words that we say have meaning. And so I've been thinking about that. And so hearing you say that just like really resonated with me. And I have a tendency to do this negative self-talk. And so I'm probably like the meanest mean girl in my head,
Oh,
like,
yes.
that's the best picture you
We're
could do
horrible.
of that, or somebody did a better picture than that, or I don't know. I could just go on and on. It's just
Why did
terrible.
we bring this up in the beginning, Marley? That's perfect, because that's really the issue. It's not that there are other people necessarily out there who are the mean ones. It's us. We're so
Yes.
mean to ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to stop it. We need to stop it
Yep.
and be
And I think
gentle.
Jay, my life coach, has said many times that when we have a negative story we're telling ourselves, we will look for proof that that is true. So if I say to myself, I am the worst food blogger out there, I will look for evidence, and everything will be evidence supporting that claim.
And then the opposite is true of, if I
Yes.
think that everyone
Right.
is beautiful or
What if,
whatever it might be,
yes. What if
then
I change my story to I'm just passionate about sharing my recipes in a positive way or whatever. Then I can look for ways to support that story too.
and and I think that it starts with like maybe having some quiet time,
Yes.
which you've been talking a lot about, and just kind of taking a break too at times. Get
Yep.
away from it and fill yourself up, and work on the things that you love to do, and just be gentle with yourself.
Yes. Watch your words and make sure you're, creating some positive stories in there. I love that.
We're all in this together.
Love it. This is so great. I think we covered it. What do you think,
I
Kara?
think we're good. Yeah.
Good stuff. So I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Have a wonderful weekend, and don't forget to quit this weekend.
Perfect.
Turn off those computers.
That's
Bye.
right. Bye. That wraps up another episode of FriChats. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to see the show notes page where we left links and notes about today's discussion, or if you'd like to sign up for our weekly email newsletter to get the latest on all things food blogging, head over to choppedpodcast.com today. That's it for today's show. Here's to something inspirational coming your way today.